Turns off.
Uh, all right, everybody. It's EK. Welcome back to the Devy Dose. I have my friend and co-pilot Kyle at KL Fantasy. Say hello to the people, Kyle.
We ballin'.
We
Gotta
fallen.
talk. We're
How's it
talking
been,
about
Kyle?
stuff we know some things about. A few things.
A few things. Well, it's good to have you back, man. We've missed you. I'm sure the 7 people that watch this show regularly are tired of listening to me by myself.
Oh yeah. I know I
I
am.
would be. Yeah. Don't lie. You don't watch the show.
You caught me.
Anyways,
But to be fair, I don't watch anyone's show anymore.
I don't either. I don't really. So, but anyways, if you're coming back and you haven't been here for the rookie profiles, I've done video profiles with film and data on pretty much all the top prospects at running back and wide receiver. We're going to get to quarterbacks. We're going to get to tight ends. Quarterbacks, there's only a handful I care about anyways, and no one really cares about tight end that much after, like Mayer and Kincaid. So not stressing about that. So tonight we're going to start some prospect talk. We're going to start with running backs. Again, go back, check the video profiles. There's a ton of content there. There's a ton of information in depth. Kyle and I are just going to kind of talk the class through a little bit, talk about our top five, what we see these guys doing, arguing a little bit because he and I have pretty different opinions on some stuff. But first, I want to talk about the Combine. Combine's coming up next week. I'm excited for it. Some people say you shouldn't care about the Combine at all. Some people think it's important. I think of a little bit of nuance. I think there's some things that can be gleaned from it. But neither is it, it's not the full measure of a prospect. So I want to get into that a little bit. Kyle, what do you think about the Combine?
It's fun. I mean, I have a lot of fun watching dudes run around in shorts. Well, I should say elite athletes run around in shorts. Normal dudes, not so much. But
That's your bag. I mean, if that's your bag, it's cool. I'll still be friends. It's all right. I don't know. Do you think that the measurables are important? Do they factor into your decision making in rookie drafts and in NFL draft evaluation?
They factor into mine for sure. I'm not sure they should factor into everybody's. I think if you're really good at this, it shouldn't matter, quite frankly. I know personally that I'm really bad at it, so it matters to me.
I hear that.
Like I see a guy run fast in pads, and I'm like, oh, he's fast, but I can't tell that he's faster than the other guy who also runs just slightly slower. I mean, maybe I'll get there someday, but that day is not today.
Yeah, I know I'll get in arguments with people about like putting things in models or moving people up. And they'll say things like, "Oh, well, don't move up, insert fast wide receiver." Jordan Addison, Jalen Hyatt, because they run fast. Because you're already counting that, so you're double counting at that point. But I'm thinking, well, they ran fast and therefore produced really well on a football field. So if you're counting that already, you're already double counting it. Like what doesn't show up in production? To me, it all shows up in production as long as you have the context on that, but I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Yeah, like the context matters, obviously, and I'm not great at the context, so I'll take all the numbers I can get.
Now,
Plus, I just love numbers.
Are you using them? Do you actually use the numbers as inputs? Are you doing anything like numeric, like data driven, like that right now?
Personally, not really. I'll probably do a small one. Just something quick and simple. Smack some things together. That's what I usually do. I usually let other people do the hard work for me, just because I failed statistics in college a couple times. So like, I guess I learned it twice, but I did fail the final twice. So
Yeah, I am no data scientist. I build houses. I do like math a lot, but yeah, man, it's been also I haven't been in college in about 22 years. So statistics is long gone. It's drank out of my head by the time I was 27, you know.
I'll let Brian do the work. My guy Brian O'Connell. He'll put together some numbers and he'll make them make sense, and then he can just tell me what he sees. Or maybe Blake, although I think Blake's retired now, so that might he'll probably do something. He'll send it to me.
I'm sure he's got spreadsheets going somewhere. Look, we got Dave in the chat. What's up, Dave? Yeah, man, I had to do like research based biology before I was like properly educated in stats, and it was really bad. I had a good lab partner. I was like, Lauren, help me, please. I can't do it. I'll do the other stuff. Oh man. So look, for me, I think the NFL cares about some of this stuff. We see that everyone had, including NFL scouts, had Isaiah Spiller, ranked highly last year coming into the combine, top 3, top 4 running back in the class, falls flat on his face, and boom, 5th, 6th round draft pick, right? And these cautionary tales happen every year. The smart, slow guys decline to run, Najee, and get away with it. And as well they should, right? Like just running for office on the strength of what they put on the field. But I'm excited to see some 40s. And yeah, I mean, is it more just fun? I mean, I think part of the 40 is just like the media circus, right? Like it's a highly televisable event. You get the overlays with the guys running against the ghost images. You get Rich Eisen out there running in his loafers, right? I mean, it's a good time for sure. But I'm excited to see it. I want the numbers. I know that, football speed doesn't always translate into gym shorts and track shoe speed. I know there's probably better ways of measuring a player's play speed, but I feel like all that stuff's flawed on some level. At least just give me an objective data point that I can look at and evaluate, right? I mean, I don't have the capability to, measure with the computer program the guy's speeds on film and stuff like that. I'm interested in that. I'm interested in seeing the cone and the shuttle for wide receivers. I'm definitely into some agility. Dave says, going to be interesting to see if there's any discrepancies what people expect versus some combine numbers. For
There
sure.
always is.
Always
there always
is. Yeah, there's always some face planters or the guy that like isn't fast but trained at Exos for 3 months and just runs a 4.4 for no reason. The good for him, like that's what you should be doing if you're, an NFL draft prospect. You should be at one of those high-end track training labs right now, just working your ass off. Unless you're like Devin A-Chain or Jahmyr Gibbs, then you should just be like eating.
It's gonna be H. H is gonna run like a 4.7, and we're all just gonna be like, "What the?"
No. Pull the Kyron Williams. Oh no! And no one thought Kyron was fast. So A-Chain's gonna run like a 4.29. I'm not worried about him. But I do hope he's just like eating like weight gainer. You know what I mean? By the tub. Just want to see like a 200 pounds out of him or 198 or something.
Yeah, he comes in at like 220 and then runs a 4.7.
Oh,
Could you imagine?
Did you see Mo's measurables from the Shrine Bowl?
No.
Mo Ibrahim's like 5'6", 200 pounds.
5'6",
5'6", 5'7", 5'7", 200 pounds. Yeah, 203 or 204. Like I would have told you that he's like, 5'9", 215 from watching his film. Like thumper running it up the gut, and he's like the size of my 4-year-old. It's crazy. So what are you excited to see? Are there any specific players that you're into? Kyle or Dave? Are there people you're interested in seeing, Dave?
Are we just going all players at this point? I want to see Anthony Richardson run.
Yeah, he's fast, dude.
I want to see Jalen Hyatt run.
Hyatt's fast. It's gonna be fun. Did you see the grade that Lance gave Hyatt?
No. What's that?
Gave him the highest grade in the class. Gave him a 6.5.
What? This man has Cedric Tillman as his fourth highest graded wide receiver.
A lot of people like Tillman.
Oh, I like Tillman, but I think Tillman's going to embarrass himself in the 40.
I think that could well happen. He might be like a Sage Surratt type for sure. Seth Williams, I see that imprint. I think he's got, maybe a little bit more craft than those guys, but yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a burner. He doesn't have to be, right? He's got to run like a 4.57 or 4.58, right, to be not humiliating himself. But yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if he does
This is
that.
so interesting. You're going to make me go on a tangent looking at this guy's wide receiver rankings.
Well, we can talk more about wide receivers next week. But
let's make Tyler Scott as wide receiver 6. Didn't I mention Tyler Scott on this show?
You did.
Did I not?
Yeah, I think I maybe have him on some squads from us talking about him on the waiver segments, man. Hey, he looks fast, right? Looks like a baller. But Tyler Scott's one of those guys. He's like 23, right?
And he's small, yeah.
And he's tiny. I mean, you're the Jalen Darden at that point, right? Like, you're I don't know, like old guy, only produced 1 year. It scares me,
He was free. He was free.
It's free. No, yeah, I'm just saying, but like you're not going to see me spend a second round rookie pick on him, even if decent capital, right? Just not in a million years. So I'm interested in weigh-ins for like the mid guys, right? The littler guys. I want to see him pack it on. Even like a Tucker, Sean Tucker. Is Sean Tucker 200 pounds or is he 210? I think that matters to the NFL, and I think it matters to me. I want to see Tucker run. I want to see like the Tanks and Kenny McIntosh's run. Like McIntosh is skilled, but I think he's a guy that's going to run like a 4.64 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 4.5. It's tough for me to see a difference between like 4.55 and 4.5, 4.6 on film. I think it
is interesting. All these big backs in this class that don't really give us anything in terms of their receiving game. Are any of them actually fast?
Right.
Like these guys who are kind of plotters. I mean, well, yeah, Charbonnet, but like apart from that, like Tank, McBride, McIntosh, Ibrahim, Chase Brown, all these guys who didn't do anything in the receiving game, like, are they fast?
Right? I know Izzy's fast.
Fast. Izzy's fast.
I think McBride's pretty fast. Not as fast as Izzy or, like a Gibbs or whatever. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be at least like a low 4.5s just from like watching his film profile. Like he's not getting caught from behind unless it's like a DB, like that's hauling, like a cornerback, that's always nice to see. Tank's a huge question for me. Like when he gets in the open field, sometimes he looks like he might have some juice. Looks like he maybe has some explosive ability, but like, I don't know. I'm not going to be surprised by like a 4.45 or a 4.59 on him. Either one. He could be David Montgomery or he could be like a good back. I don't know. An exciting back. Montgomery's good. He's just boring.
The other thing I'm really looking forward to, honestly, is just rumors. What are people saying? Because like, I don't know what to make of some of these guys in this class, and I just want to hear like what's the word going around Indianapolis on guys like like Darnell Washington, Will Levis, Josh Downs. Like I like Josh Downs a lot. I have no idea if the NFL does. Tank Dell. Like sure they talked about him at the Senior Bowl, but he's still at the Senior Bowl. Like he's not with those other guys.
Yeah. Zerline likes Dell. He hasn't graded as a starter, but it's the same thing for me. He's 22, 23 years old, little guy. Like I don't know. I mean, you're gonna get drafted as a kickoff returner, or you get drafted by the Bears because they're horrible at drafting. You know what I mean? You're either Velus Jones or you're a special teamer with that profile. But
You know who else I want to see run? The kid from Princeton, the wide receiver, Andre
Yes,
Iosivas, I guess.
I'll accept that. I don't want to venture it. I'm glad you did. Yeah, are you? Is he intriguing to you? I mean, he's
Oh,
like
absolutely.
he's getting billed as the Christian Watson of this class. I haven't really seen him
Yeah,
play much.
we'll see if he's Christian Watson. I mean, was he at the Senior Bowl? I'm a little out of the loop.
Yeah. People, yeah, he was at the Senior Bowl, made a splash there, got some hype. I don't know, but why didn't you do anything at Stanford? Like Michael Wilson outproduced him. You know what I mean? I think Wilson's a good receiver, but I don't know. I mean, McKee's no wonder kind. I don't think he's a NFL starter, but I don't think he's a bad college quarterback either. I think he's a good college quarterback. So for me, it's like you have all that athleticism. Why didn't you produce? You know, if you're the fastest kid on the field, like I don't know. Unless you like just started playing football a year ago, and then I'm like, all right, or you're playing linebacker, 12 months ago, then cool, that I get it. There's a narrative there that I can buy into. I guess the other thing that I care about, and I love what you're saying about the rumors, and always say a lot of talks get done there, right? A lot of trades get done there.
Yeah.
I do like seeing the receiving drills. There's the gauntlet one where you catch over here, catch over here, catch over here. I know you're less enthusiastic about it than I am, but I do think, you get to see these guys, not on the football fields, isolated, without surrounding, any other factors around them. Particularly for like the guys that didn't catch passes in college. Like I want to see Izzy catch balls. I want to see Kendry Miller catch balls. I want to see Dwayne McBride catch balls. You know what I mean?
I don't know. They're future NFL players. They should be able to catch a football without anyone covering them. Like,
it's not like they're bouncing it off their
face. I mean, if they can't catch it, I think that's a big deal. But they should just be able to catch it. I don't see like why it's that important.
There's definitely guys who look natural, soft hands, and there's definitely guys that are like, or body catching it. You know what I mean? You want to see a guy pluck it out of the air, bring it in. There's a guy out there just running, getting ahead with football.
You don't belong in the NFL. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Are you got anything else for the combine? Any other names?
I was going to say, I also want to see Charlie Jones run, just because I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. He's fast. He gets drafted just on speed, right?
Oh, for sure. He gets drafted, but like, do we care?
Yeah, no,
he should be.
Don't care.
Like, there's no way he was good if he. I mean, I think he was fast. I think he had to be.
I really haven't watched any film on him. I don't care enough. And
he looks fast, but like for him to succeed at like that small, and like he has to at least be super quick. He has to at least be like NFL quick.
How big is he?
He's pretty small, if I remember correct. I want to say he's 5 foot something. Oh, now we're just loading, Oh, here we go. Oh, NFL.com has listed as 6 foot 188.
Yeah. I think he's just small in your head. He's like a white guy in my receiver.
In the slot.
Yeah, no, he's more like Alex Piercy, I think, or Alec Piercy, but not that big or that fast, in my opinion. So, like a guy like that, but less good. Yeah, I don't even like Piercy.
So bad.
So bad. Yeah. Not good. White guy catching footballs. That's what I'm saying. All right, so let's get into prospect talk. It's the time of year for it. and we're gonna launch into our running backs. We're gonna do a couple of running back shows. Maybe we'll get through a few more than 5 tonight for feeling frisky, but I know this guy's got to work, and I probably got stuff to do too. I'm just kidding. I ain't got nothing to do. But so we'll just get through. We have it laid out in the show sheet to get through our top 5 guys. Being the way we are, we're probably gonna meander and tangent and stuff like that because that's more fun. But
yeah, that's where the content is really at.
That's where it's at. That's what they come for. So my friend at Lucy with AK made these sweet data cards with me, and they're on Twitter. They're in my video profiles. Check them out. Follow Lucy, and you can't really see there. I want to leave this up, but if that went away, you could see it. So now I'm gonna have to manually open the next one. That's his tag. So obviously the RB1. There's no question. There's no confusion. Anyone that says Bijan isn't the RB1 is just either they're just looking for clickbaits. That's it. They're just looking for clicks. They're just looking for an argument. There's no rational human that can argue anyone else over Bijan in this class, right?
Well, you see, if you're over 6 feet tall, you just can't play running back. So
have you heard
it
that
has
one?
to be Jameer Gibbs. Yeah. No, I haven't heard that one. Just trying to make something up.
Yeah, I do think Bijan's not. I don't think he's super fast, so I think there probably will be some prospect fatigue with him after the combine.
Who cares?
I don't care. I'm just saying, what's gonna come, right? Like every year, like people are like, "Oh, it's not Brees," oh, it's not whoever, this time of year. Oh no, it's Kenny Walker,
Brees.
But so I'm not going to go through the prospect card, but do you want to talk a little bit about Bijan? What do you like about Bijan? Where do you like to see him land? What do you think he's going to do in the NFL?
He can land anywhere that, doesn't have an elite running back, and he'll start. I mean, outside of like the top, 8 guys, probably? Maybe 6?
I think you're being generous, to the NFL. I think there's probably 5 guys that need to come in and take their jobs. Yeah. I mean, if he lands behind like Henry or something crazy that's not even crazy. The Titans could and would do that, right?
No.
Like he's in a timeshare.
Please no. Please no.
If he lands in a backfield with Dalvin Cook, he's in a timeshare. Minnesota's crazy. They would do that, right? These are things that could happen, and something wild like that's probably going to happen. Like
I say, please no. I say, please no, as a Titans fan, not as a Bijan Robinson fan. If we wasted a first round pick on a running back, I would be so pissed off.
When like every other position on your roster has glaring holes. Yeah, you spend like number 17 or whatever the hell it is. Probably better than that, right? 13 or 14. Yeah. Spend it on a running back. I don't know. Bijan, for me, he's a better pass catching running back than anyone that's a workhorse sized since Christian McCaffrey. I think he's more of a downfield receiver than Saquon. Even Saquon's a great receiver, but I don't think he has like the true wide receiver skill set that Bijan has. And then he's just a ninja between the tackles. Over 100 missed forced tackles this year. That's redonkulous. No one else in this class, let me pull it up. It's like literally in front of me. No one else in this class has even close to that. I think the next highest guy is like 80. And then even looking back at the other most recent classes, ETN had 91. David Montgomery had 99. No one else was even sniffing that number. If a guy hits like 75 or 80, that's like a great number, JT 87. But yeah, Bijan 104. And then a 64% breakaway rate. Like, again, that's one of the highest numbers of anybody from the past 4 classes. You had Darrell Henderson had a better number than that. Michael Carter was close. But all these like real workhorse, Ramondre had that kind of number, but all these real workhorse backs don't sniff that. They're like 44, 50%, 54%. Kenny Walker, awesome, great breakaway runner, 54%, right? I mean, I don't know. We could go on for days just talking about what Bijan can do and not find anything he can't do.
Okay. So, yeah, we both agree. Like Bijan, runaway RB1 in this class. But like, let's put some context on it. Would you take JT or Bijan as prospect?
It's close. My model has Bijan one slot ahead of JT.
Okay. And I assume Brees would be well below.
Yeah, Brees
a
is
decent bit below.
Yeah, Brees is the 8th rated prospect on this list.
What about Saquon?
Do you want me to share this? Saquon. I'm only looking at the past 4 years here. There's some 19 on, but Saquon.
So is Bijan 1 in your last 4 years?
He's behind ETN. ETN's data was so good. Yeah, I would not take ETN over Bijan at all, but his production was just absurd. And then my model takes in yards after contact per attempt. ETN, great number. Takes in missed forced tackles as like a volume stat. ETN's awesome at that. But yeah, Saquon would be at the top here. I think he would probably be the best. But I'd have to go back and like start flipping through other sheets to find that. Yeah, not much appetite for that. So what do you think? Are you tempering your expectations? Excuse me, or you're just being contrarian?
I'm probably just being a little contrarian just for fun. I mean,
Yeah,
he's definitely in the same level as JT for me. I mean, I don't know. I'm still struggling with what to do in a Superflex draft. That's going to be like the biggest thing for me, trying to figure out, do I want Stroud, Young, or Bijan?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I have that. I have the 101 in a hurt squad that like I did a poor job, I thought, in the startup draft, like tried to win now, didn't win now, broke it down, like savagely sold Dak last year, just like ripped it apart. And I have the 101 and I'm not getting any offers that I love. And I desperately need a quarterback. I'm rolling with Deshaun Watson and Mac Jones, right? So it's like if the rest of my team was loaded, I could get away with that, but it's stupid to draft a running back with that kind of squad unless I'm drafting him with the intention of selling him for a king's ransom. And even then, what am I selling him for? Am I going to get – I would have to get a quarterback that's at like the Dak Prescott level or better, or else I should have just taken Price, right? Right?
Yeah. I don't know. There's still a level of safety in trading for a guy rather than drafting Young or Stroud. But
true. Yeah, let me ask you this, because you always smash my trades. You hate me. You hate my trades. So I had the 103 in a league where I'm like young, but like loaded on the roster, right? Like, but I have like 4 picks. So I want to win now, right? I traded 103 and Olave and a pick and a 24 for Tua, Waddle, and slightly worse 24.
gosh, okay. If we assume Tua is fully healthy, I absolutely agree with you. Then.
Yeah, cool.
No, I think you win. You win if that's true. Yeah. The issue is I just can't do that. The issue is I can't do that. Like I have no idea what to do with Tua.
I think he's going to be okay, dude. Remember Brandon Cooks was going to be done, was hanging up the cleats 3 or 4 years ago because of concussions?
Yeah.
He's had like 2 other 1,000-yard seasons since then. I mean, he did look good this year, but that's got nothing to do with the concussions. That's just, 30-year-old receiver on a bad team.
Yeah, that's fair.
I threw this up just in case anyone wants to see. So this is 2019 through 2023 in my model. So you can see largely like pretty good. It's got Zach Moss in here, Trey and Spiller are kind of higher than I'd like. But other than that, like pretty solid results, right?
Cam Akers.
I like Akers, man. You don't like Akers?
No, I love Akers. He just hasn't proved it yet.
Yeah, again, this is not subjective at all. It's just you know what part of it is. The missed force tackles bring him up, and then I got some efficiency numbers in there, and yards per route run in there. I don't know why Akers is so high, honestly. I think it's the efficiency. I use yard per touch as a decent number. He sucked at efficiency in college, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Because his offensive line was legitimately horrible.
Oh, I'm using NFL.com grades here too. 639. That'll help a lot. That adds like 30. That's like 30% of his score right there. So yeah.
And Clyde too is their draft cap.
No, but he got a 639. Get the same score. He got Zerline gave Najee a 646, and he gave Clyde a 639. He gave J.K. Dobbins a poorer grade than Allaire or Akers.
What did he give JT?
641.
So still above the two other guys in his class. Yeah.
Yeah, but like
barely.
I don't know. Barely.
Yeah,
right?
It's tough.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's it is what it is, right? We've seen plenty of like other guys produce in offenses with loaded offensive lines and not pan out. I can see taking him with a grain of salt coming out, but once he hit the combine, this is all this guy's doing his grades now. Once he hit the combine, that's when we were all like, oh, this is the guy, right? All right, let's move along.
Are you high on Bijan in redraft?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think in redraft, it's gonna be tough because, like, how high are you gonna have to take him?
Yeah, like what? I mean? Like the RB7?
Probably
8.
Yeah. So I generally am not taking those guys as high as I need to get them in a redraft format. I'm just not. Like I've done. I don't know if you're doing any best ball, but I've done a ton of best ball, big board, right? Big board format, and I don't have a share of him right now in that. What do you think? Do you think you'll draft? I mean, I would draft him.
I mean, people slept on Brees last year, and I drafted a lot of Brees in redraft.
I did as well.
I don't think that's going to happen though with Bijan, sadly. So maybe hopefully I can get him in my home league. I mean, there's always that, but like,
yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think I'd rather have. Do you think he goes before Austin Eckler? Because like I'd rather have Austin Eckler.
Yeah, Eckler's old though. You know that, right? He's 29.
He's got one more in him.
No one at 29 or older has ever been the RB1. But like, you don't need him to be the RB1. You need him to be a top 5 RB. And I think if he's healthy, he is, right? That's the only way I can see him not being a top 5 RB is he gets hurt, or like Herbert gets hurt, right? And they just burn the offense to the ground. Speaking of pass catching running backs, the consensus RB2, who is also the RB2 in my model, although I will say he wasn't until film inputs, but the film scores, he gets like a 639 or something on NFL.com. That makes him easily the RB2. It kind of makes him in a tier of his own, although I think Charbonnet is pretty close to him in this model. Yeah, Charbonnet is pretty close. So where are you at on Gibbs? Do you have him in RB2?
He is the RB2 in my head. Yes.
Yeah. So
it's not written down anywhere, but it's all up here.
In the head, in the vault.
Yeah.
So he's the only. So Bijan's the only guy in this class that scored over like my benchmark score for a guy with a top 12 season. He won't even be a guy with a top 12,
Really?
honestly. Yeah. Gibbs doesn't, even with the film score, but he's close. My benchmark was a 10.96. Gibbs is a 9.51. So
In PPR standard, or does it matter?
I don't care. This is just production grades, teammate score, some elusive metrics, things like that. So
I think he definitely has a top 12 PPR season in him. I
oh
don't
no,
know if that season
I'm
is as a top 12 standard season.
Yeah, I'm just saying as a prospect, like I
Yeah,
correlated the scores of guys that hit those numbers. He doesn't quite hit it, but he's close, right? And honestly, Kenny Walker had about the same grade as him. Montgomery was a little bit lower. Akers was just a hair higher. So, in that data range, there's plenty of guys that are strong NFL running backs. And you even get guys that are significantly lower, but caught passes like Ramondre, that are obviously fallers. So, and I love Gibbs. Check out the film profile if you're watching this. You want to know more. You want to get in depth. He's an electric runner. He's not the best runner between the tackles. I know from talking to Noah. That's why he's not Noah's RB2, because we both have the same data in front of us that just suggests he's not a high level interior runner, right? He's not like if you're just running the ball, he's not your guy, right? Like he's just not. And it's not even the size, it's just that's not his skill set. Like Noah has him as like not bad vision, but not elite vision. From what I watched, he seemed to make pretty damn good decisions. But Noah gets into the nitty gritty of it a little more than I do. Like you should be hitting the A gap before the B gap and yada yada and things like that. And, he really grades it with a fine tooth comb numerically. I'm not comfortable putting numbers on those things. I'm halfway between you and an actual film nerd, right? Where I'm just like, I don't know. I kind of think I know what I'm seeing, but is that an 8 or a 7? Like, how the fuck do you know? Like, I don't know. You have to know in your head what like a 10 looks like. Like, I don't know how you do that.
true.
True. Every play, I thought about doing it that way. Like, successful play, unsuccessful play. But at the end of the day, I was just like, I'm going to use someone else's film score that does that for a living. Focus on what I'm best at, which is like the data, and then just kind of generally, presenting this stuff. But the pass catching upside is undeniable. And one of the things that has me enthusiastic about him, and I watch a ton of games on these guys. I do watch 4 or 5 games. I grade like a couple, like take notes on. I like what he did on this play. I didn't like what he did on this play. And the games that he got bottled up as a runner in, he still goes off as a receiver. And the games that he was gashing them in the run game, maybe he had a milder game receiving, but like he's still part of that. So I feel like NFL teams are going to see him as this versatile weapon that brings something to the table that other running backs in this class can't, and they're going to have a plan for him and use him heavily immediately. Unless he like really falls on his face in training camp or something like. But I don't see that, man. He was playing, good teams and dicing guys up this past year. Did you get to? I mean, obviously you watched some Alabama. You're an SEC guy.
Yeah, I watched Gibbs kill Tennessee a little bit.
Yeah,
I
feel like that was
like 50 receiving yards in that game.
Yeah, I think he ran the ball pretty well too.
He ran the ball a lot.
Yeah,
which was
he ran
interesting.
in a couple touchdowns against you.
3 touchdowns. Yep.
Yeah.
24 carries though for 100 yards though. I mean, it was his work. It was one of his worst, yards per carry outputs. I mean, so
yeah. I think. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's defense was questionable, but you were definitely better up front than you were on the back end, right?
Way, way better up front. That team stopped the run very well. Just didn't stop the pass. Couldn't stop Spencer Rattler of all people. Okay, let's not get started on that. Let's go elsewhere. Anyway, Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, I have him locked in. Like I said, I have him locked in for a top 12 PPR season at some point.
Yeah.
I think any team that drafts him is for sure using him on third downs his rookie year, if not more than that. And I don't think you have to be great in between the tackles to be a great PPR running back. I mean, is Austin Eckler great in between the tackles? Is Alvin Kamara great in between the tackles? I mean, they're both good.
They're both
I
good
think,
for sure. Kamara might
and
be great. I don't know. I haven't really
yeah,
ground film on those guys. But yeah, it doesn't have to be like a power back, right? But it's like hitting the hole, hitting the right hole, getting through it, getting to it quickly. But yeah,
I mean,
you're right. I don't know if they're great. I'd have to look at the data like to make any kind of intelligent statement on that. But it's a great point. Anyway,
Austin Eckler looks like a great in between the tackles running back, but that's because all the other downs it's going to Josh Kelly. So yeah.
So the other thing too, I think Gibbs is fast, right? But do you care about the size? Is that like just a non-issue for you, or
If he's actually 5'11", 200, I mean, that's not that bad. Like, sure, you want him to be 210 at 5'11". That's not horrible.
yeah, generally guys are dead to me if they're not 205, to be honest. So kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone with Gibbs here. It really does come in at that. But CMC came in around 200. Eckler is still probably less than 200, right? Or maybe
He's 5'8", though.
Yeah, it's fine. Exactly. So he's a brick shithouse too. You know what I mean? He's got muscles on his muscles.
McCaffrey's listed as 5'11", 205 currently.
Yeah, currently. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he came in more like 201. So, it's I don't think, I guess Gibbs is a little bit rocked up. He's got some biceps going.
Really look at that picture there. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. That's another thing we'll have to look for next week, but I still think there's a chance he comes in at 205. I mean, or he could come in at 5'10" or 5'9". I mean,
yeah,
things happen. Alabama lies. Everybody lies. So I hate to put much stock into size until we actually have a concrete number. It's part of it. But sure, if he is 5'11", 200, I do care. I do have to knock him for that. I just don't know who I put ahead of him. This is the other part. Like, it's kind of a weak class.
How dare the profane the 2023 running back class like that?
Oh, yeah.
Vaunted fucking superstar class. No, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of with you. Like, I got there looking at data, like, when I first started to run stuff through my model. It's kind of like, I mean, Bijan, and then, like, some good running backs. But no one else that jumps out at me as like, oh, wow, they're superstar. Like, I think knowing what I know now, like today, I'd probably have Walker as the RB2. Even Walker, the prospect, where we're like, oh, we don't know if he can catch. Like, he scores higher than Gibbs in my model.
Yeah. I don't hate it.
It's close. And I'm not saying like, oh, yeah, like, fuck Gibbs. But, like, I'm just saying, like, I would probably, have Walker or them like 2A, 2B, looking at the math here. And one of them you can profile as a workhorse easily, right? Although really we're talking about 5 pounds. Walker wasn't a load either. But all right, cool. So we're gonna move on to, I think, is Evans your RB3?
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
I'm flexible. I mean, everything's flexible until the freaking draft happens. Everything's flexible in my rankings until like a week after the draft.
Yeah.
But
to be honest, like when I have guys clustered tightly, I'll take them not in my preferred order anyways if I don't think I'm going to get shares of a guy. Right? Like I might have, Addison over JSN, but like if I only have one 104, right, I'd probably take JSN just because otherwise I'm not getting any shares because no one else is letting him slide. Like he's like everyone's wide receiver one except like a handful of people, you know. All right, Zach Evans. I think he's my RB3 right now. My model does not agree with me, but I am comfortable stepping away from that on occasion. I do have questions, right? Like, and I talked about this. My profile, this is my first profile I did, so it's probably a little bit rough. So if you watch that and you're watching this, sorry, I'll do better. But the efficiency numbers are off the charts, right? 7.2 yards per touch is nuts. The rush yards over attempt is nuts. The 3.98 yards created, it's awesome. The EPA per play is great. But then why didn't you get the workload if you're that good? You know what I mean? Like, did you ask to not carry the load? Most of these guys are like, yeah, give me the rock, coach. Give me the rock, coach. So all of his counting stats are pretty rough.
Or is Quinshon Judkins just the next Saquon?
Nah, dude. I mean, most of the Devy heads won't draft him ahead of Singleton still.
I will.
It's tough for me. Singleton's like such an elite athlete, but I'd probably, if I had that choice, I'd try to get someone to like trade up. You know what I mean? But I love production. It's the heart of my model. And like, I don't know. Like, why did the one guy produce and the other guy didn't? Like, I don't know. Penn State wasn't that bad this year. Fucking the other kid, Katron, like pretty much went blow for blow with Singleton. And yeah, Katron's an NFL player, maybe, but I don't think we're going to be talking about him as, a top 30 or top 60 draft pick ever.
No.
Whereas like I can see that with Quinshon. You know what I mean? Quinshon's, it's like unless he like explodes both his knees, like he's tracking to be, a day 2 running back, right? Like, so yeah, I don't know, but I take that aside. Like what I see on film from Evans is like it's pretty exciting. Sometimes I don't think he plays up to his weight. Like there's some
That's
games
fair.
you see him lay the truck stick, but he doesn't break a lot of tackles. Like he's not like that kind of strong where he's like pushing a pile. Honestly, I don't think he weighs in at 215 for starters. I've said that before. I think he's probably going to be one of those guys that he steps on the scale and everyone's like, oh, because he's going to be like 208 or like 210. But like, I don't care about that still, but I just don't think he's like, this like power back, that his measurables kind of suggest he is. He avoids tackles with agility, which is cool at his size, right? That he has that lateral ability. He's got that awesome awareness. I think you were on the show with Jeff when we were talking about that, and Jeff was talking about just how much he sees and feels what's going on around him, and I see that on the film. Like definitely, it has that feel for what's going on and ability to make creative, aggressive solutions in the moment. And I love that about him. I think he's creative runner. I think he's, got like real explosiveness. I think he's got top end speed. But my questions are like, I don't know if you're 215, I'd like to see if, break a few tackles, like not get tackled with arm tackles sometimes, maybe throw a stiff arm and, gain some extra yards. And you don't really see that, but I do think the highs outweigh the low for me. And as you pointed out, all the other running backs from this class also have significant flaws in one or another part of their profile, right?
And Zach Evans probably has more pedigree than anybody else in this class. I mean, you're talking about a 5-star recruit, the number 2 running back in his class, number 16 player in his class. This is a guy who's like a top 300 all-time prospect on 24/7. Like, we've thought he was going to be good for a long freaking time, and he hasn't disproved that. That's for sure. I mean, he hasn't like proved he's the greatest. He hasn't been Bijan, but he's still he's proved that he's good.
Even his freshman year when he got the ball, he was just explosive plays, and I think that's what we're going to get out of him in the NFL, right? Is like, maybe he's not the guy that gets you 4 yards every time, but he's the guy that's going to get like stuffed once, but then break a 20-yarder. But he's going to have that like, some people have that data where they're like, oh, this is the percentage of 10-yard plays you converted into 20. Like that's the kind of thing that I think he's going to excel in. And then the other thing, I really went back and forth on him for his receiving profile because you can see the card, like 5% reception market share is bad. It's not good. 60% dominator is bad. His actual counting stats, 30 receptions in his career. That's not good. You want to see a workhorse running back have 30 plus receptions in their best season, really like 40. Fucking JT had like a 40-yard reception season, and we were talking about can he catch the ball? You know what I mean? But then on the other side of it, he has a 1.76 yards per round run, which is a really good number. It's like way over my benchmark in that figure. So you kind of look at that and you're like, does it say that he can't or just that he didn't? You know what I mean? And I'm leaning towards he just didn't. Like he wasn't in systems that really threw the back. I mean, Dugan, right? Like Dugan's running the ball. Dugan's not checking it down much.
And he still had 10 receptions in 20 and his last season at TCU, and he only played 6 games.
Yeah,
so like, he's on pace for 20.
Yeah, well, which is that would have helped.
Acceptable,
acceptable. And then and then this year playing with Dart again, like a guy that inexperienced, not much touch, inclined to take off and run. If he's not throttling it downfield,
I feel like it's a Kiffin thing too.
Yeah.
At least at Ole Miss, I don't think he's thrown to his backs.
Yeah, that could make sense. No, I mean, wait, how long has he been there?
Ely.
Yeah, Ely.
Yeah.
But Ely was a really good, receiving back. Ely
had 32 last year. Henry Parrish had 21 receptions last year. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably wrong.
Yeah.
It happens.
But I once in a while, you're pretty good at this stuff, though. I mean, I don't know. I think the quarterback has a lot to do with receiving share for running backs. Although, like, also, I look at the wide receivers there this year. It's like, they weren't good,
Yeah.
I kind of would think you would have tried to get the ball to your best player. And you kind of think for an inexperienced quarterback,
they did.
Jump off.
That's why they gave it to Quinshon Judkins.
True. Touche. So what do you think? What's your prognosis for Evans to the next level?
I think he's a good player. I think he'll be just fine in the NFL. He's definitely obviously not, I'm not going to say definitely, but I think he's an NFL starter. I don't think he's a guy that an NFL team drafts and then says there's no reason to bring in any competition for this guy.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like he's like Clyde level.
I think he's better than Clyde.
Yeah, I think he's better than Clyde
explosive,
too. Yeah, he's really a better athlete than Clyde. But like, I'm trying to just think of like a random NFL starter right now.
It's tough, dude. There's only like a handful of good running backs. So say, look, you're in a draft. Rookies are in the pool. You have to take a running back. You can't take a wide receiver, right? And you're looking at like Dobbins, Evans, Cam Akers, Brian Robinson, Rashad White. Like, where are you taking Evans in there? What you know right now?
I'm taking Evans just because I've seen what the other guys have done.
Yeah.
I'll take the mystery box over those guys. But
what's in the box? Okay, so bump it up a notch. Swift, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Evans.
Evans is last.
Right? That kind of puts you – it's a pretty good ranking, right? I mean, that's where he is. He's like RB 12 or something for you then, right?
No, not even. I don't know. Shoot. I mean,
maybe that's 14 or 15, but it's not It's not outside of that, right? I mean,
No, I think he's like 20, 22,
maybe
25.
you're taking Walker over him. I would.
Yeah, I'm taking, Brees over him.
Yeah,
Um,
obviously. Taking Brace over to like most of these guys, to be honest.
I think I take Ramondre over Zach Evans. Josh
Dude, I'm worried about
Jacobs.
Belichick. I'm worried about the Patriots, though, dude. Ramondre's splitting carries next year. I guess it didn't matter this year. He was splitting carries with Harris when Harris was healthy, and he still ran amok.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. So, yeah, 20-ish, right? But, I mean, and that's probably where you're dumping everyone in this class. That's not Gibbs. Where would you take Gibbs? Would you take Gibbs or Walker?
PPR. PPR, of course.
PPR, yeah.
Right?
Gibbs or Walker?
Walker.
Gibbs or Javante?
The injury doesn't help, but if he wasn't injured, it'd be Javante by a country mile.
Yeah. What about Jacobs?
That's a tough one just because of the age. Jacob's going into his
Jacobs
second
is like
contract
24,
now.
right? He's second
Yeah, but he's
contract.
still at second contract,
It's true.
and
That probably
he
matters
could he
more
could
than
be on a
age.
different team.
Yeah, could
Which
be in
would
a
be
dinosaur,
interesting.
could be on a
Yeah,
bad team. Yeah.
future Patriot, Josh Jacobs and Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh my god. That would kill so many fantasy teams. It would make so many grown men cry. I think that's the right range that we're talking about. Gibbs, right? Jacobs, Ramondre, right? Kind of in that range. So that's like teens, mid-teens or
Yeah,
something. Swift, Gibbs, that's a close one, right?
I don't think so.
You'd Swift easily for you.
Yeah, such
Yeah.
a top 10 back for me.
Yeah, right. Injury prone's a myth, right? Keep telling ourselves that. It is, except for the rare. It is, except when it's not.
The ceiling's so high.
Yeah. The staff hates him.
Do
You heard the
they?
rumors, right? The rumors this year, like they want
Oh,
Swift, they can try to trade him or move him or something.
they should. I love that.
Yeah. Just feed Jamal Williams.
I guess DeAndre Swift just doesn't bite enough kneecaps.
Got to get on the Campbell program, kid. All right. That's enough on Evans. Let's throw.
And now this is where it gets interesting for us.
Yeah, right. We have some diversion certainly from my model to, well, I think most people's rankings, but certainly our mutual home slice, Sean Tucker, does not live up to the hype in the NFL.com rankings. They have him, as you saw to your dismay, as more like the RB7 or RB8 in this class, right?
The Zerline rankings?
Yeah.
No, he's like RB12 in this class.
Yeah, that's harsh. And he's got critics, though. A lot of people. Yeah, I've always had him in my top
14.
5. Yeah. So, in my data model, freaking loved him. Like in just the production, the composite production metric, he's like RB2 or 3. He's like in that range.
Yeah.
And then all the rest of the stuff that comes into my model after that kind of drags him down substantially. So in the model right now, my model, he's just a spot after Evans, but also Evans is pretty low. He's a spot after Evans, ahead of Tank, ahead of Michael Carter, Schubert Hubbard, Rashad White, ahead of Miles Sanders and Ramondre Stevenson. So not a bad spot to be behind noted stud Kennedy Brooks. I think one of the big whiffs on data. He just was really efficient, like efficiency. But behind Brian Robinson, Eric Gray, Izzy Abanaconda, Spiller, Sermon, Monty, Daryl Henderson. So that's kind of where he is in my model, behind Damian Harris. Behind all those guys we talked about. And this is, for past 4 years. It's not all time. Just all time stuff gets lost. But a kid's fast, It's definitely got some explosive ability. But I remember when one of my big notes on scouting him was that like he doesn't do stupid stuff ever. It's always a positive play or him salvaging a bad play. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Guy's got a hand on him 2 yards into the backfield. He slips the guy, gets back to the line of scrimmage and falls forward for a yard. Like you see that out of Tucker all the time. Like I think he's a smart back. I think he makes good decisions. I'm not the guy to talk to about like this read or that read. Like you can see when it's a bad play and it's the running back's fault for sure, right? Like, it doesn't take a PhD in offensive schemes to tell when the guy's like run into the back of his alignment or he bounces something, gets caught, right? Or waits too long and a hole collapses, and you don't see that stuff out of Tucker, man. Holes there,
It's Syracuse too. Like, it's not like they got 5 stars blocking for him. Heck,
right.
They barely had a quarterback last year.
Right.
I mean, they were still running out Garrett Schrader. I mean, that dude runs more than he passes half the time. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's not like there was any other threats on this offense other than Sean Tucker, and this was a team that won so many games that they were ranked. Okay, that's true. I'll give you that. I know what you're gonna say.
Are you dissing my boy Gadsden? Oh, Rondé's my homie. He's good, dude. I think we'll be talking about him a lot next year this time, I think. But I hear you, right? Tucker was the workhorse of this offense. And you can see, I mean, I don't know how little the numbers are to you, but if you blow this thing up a little bit, 37% dominator. That's a fire number. That's really high. My benchmark, if I can pull it up without taking. Is that you or me?
What's that?
Oh, it sounds like a Sawzall or something running.
Oh yeah, that was a car. Crappy car.
Nice. Dominator rating best. So my benchmark is the 32% dominator. Tucker blows it out of the water. And guys like Bijan, Taylor are there. Najee's there. Reese is there. But he's still higher than a lot of guys we think of as top, 24, top 15 backs. But again, like you said, also it's Syracuse. There's no one else. So who are you going to give the ball to? Is Garrett Schrader just going to run it 20 times a game? That's kind of your alternative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Dave.
And it's that production. I mean, I just can't go ignore it. I mean, this is a dude who had 1,000 rushing yards and 36 receptions. And like we said, there's not many people in this class who put together, insane rushing seasons along with receiving work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with his performance.
You had to get that one in there. I knew you would. For me, the receiving work again is a big part of it. There's not a guy with a workhorse profile in this class whose receiving work I like more than Tucker's, except Gibbs and Bijan, right? Which is I know that's a lot of words, but there's some other guys.
Except the two obvious guys, yeah.
It's the two obvious guys, right? I could argue an A-Chain, but I think Tucker is at least as good of a receiver as A-Chain. A-Chain is explosive as hell. I could argue Eric Gray. Eric Gray's a good receiver, but I think Tucker's a better runner.
I think Tucker's better at everything than Eric Gray.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Gray's a good receiving back, but yeah, I'm with you. I definitely think Tucker's more skilled at everything. Or Kenny McIntosh is the other guy that I could say maybe he's a better receiver than Tucker, but Tucker's I don't think McIntosh is fast. I think he's tough. I think he's a smart runner. But Tucker's got a combination of really soft hands, receiving chops, good awareness on the field, and definite low 4.4 speed, right?
Yeah,
Tucker, yeah.
And we love guys who come into college and produce immediately. like especially the first 2 years. And Sean Tucker had 1,700 all-purpose yards as a sophomore.
Yeah.
There's nobody in the class. Not even Bijan did that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Bijan his sophomore year had 14, 1,500, which is amazing still. But like Tucker is probably the best in his sophomore year, statistically for sure.
Yeah.
Like I just can't put that away, and it just that's the reason I have him at 4. I mean, it's just once that cat's out of the bag, it's just man, I just love Sean Tucker.
He's very likable too, isn't he? Just
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now, he's a
absolutely. The
media
the
presence.
tweets are so good.
So good. You just want this kid to be a thing so bad. He seems like
And now
a
and
great
now he's got
fraternity.
the whole thing where he just is like please in all caps, but the E and the S are 34 or the E and the A. Oh, it's so good.
His elusive stats are pretty good. They're not world breakers, but they're all like sniffing the thresholds I want. 4.11 yards after contact per attempt, 1.22 yards per route run. That's a little low. I think he ran a lot of yards and he ran a lot of routes. He was also on a crappy offense and had really crappy
And he
quarterbacks. So
didn't and he didn't come off the field.
didn't come off the field, right? Blocking was okay. Nothing to write home about. But he's willing as a blocker. I don't know if he's that skilled. The max the missed forced tackles number clears my threshold. That makes sense. It wasn't like wild on a per touch basis, but it's not awful. It's like a little bit below the average. So, it got a lot of volume. I feel like stuff like that'll suffer with some volume, but I also don't think that's like a huge strength for him. Again, not a tackle breaker, right? It's got some shake in the open field. But I think Evans is better at that than Tucker, but Tucker's just so explosive that, he gets away with a lot.
If nobody can touch you, it doesn't matter if you can't get away from him.
This is true. Yeah. I don't know. What else you got on Tucker? Oh, my other thought, too, is just on talking about receiving jobs, is he was running a pretty diverse route tree, honestly, for like a running back that's not like
For sure.
a pass catching specialist. There's snaps of him split out wide. I saw him run
Mm-hmm.
a seam route. Tons of wheels and like what do you call them, slants, angle routes, but also some legit out wide routes, which is kind of cool to see, at least that he's doing those drills in practice. Uh, Someone trusted him. He didn't get the ball on him, but they trusted him enough to put him out there and make him an option. So that's cool
Yeah.
too.
I think Sean Tucker is more of a complete package than a lot of the other players in this class in terms of rushing ability and receiving ability. So I just find it hard to not have him in my top 5.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And I mean, and honestly, my heart is there, but it is disheartening when I see him ranked as the RB12. It wouldn't be the first time Zerline's whiffed, but, and honestly, 6.1 is still him ranking him as a starter, as an NFL
Mm-hmm.
starter. He's saying this guy is going to be one of the
It's a lot of
32
starters.
best, running backs in the NFL at some point, right? So at least average starter, right? So, okay, we'll move on to a guy that I know you like less than me, but also who my data model is super high on. Not Eric Gray, the other one that we're going to argue about. Zach the Mac
It's
Chardonnay.
it's funny because it took me so long to move Eric Gray down my Devy rankings.
Yeah, you're a GC.
I had hope. I had hope going into this season, but I'm just not there anymore.
Yeah, even last startup season when he was getting his first year at Oklahoma, when he was getting drafted so high, I was just kind of like, I kind of get it, but also you're drafting a guy that's like done nothing is like the RB fucking 12 or something. It's like crazy. I did not wind up with any additional shares of him that year, but I do have some. Whatever. We'll talk about Gray probably next time because we're running around an hour and I know you got to go to work. But Charbonnet, like I think you can say a lot of the same things, right? Like super hyped prospect coming in,
Hmm.
right? Like high 4-star, right? Size, speed freak, right? He's purportedly had run a 4.4 at size in high school. And we were all super stoked about him. He was going to be the workhorse at Michigan, and then that just didn't happen. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I like Charbonnet. The model likes him because of the production, because of missed forced tackles, because of efficiency on a per touch basis. He's got some highlights some feathers in his cap. Been an average amount of yak per attempt, 69 missed forced tackles. Yeah, kind of a volume stat, but still, it's a nice stat. 1.46 yards per carry over team. That's a good number. I mean, I don't know who else was running the ball on that team. I don't think they were anything special. But the 6.14 yards per touch is a good number. And then just the raw stats are pretty nice. Even added a good amount of receiving work in the past couple of years, 14% reception market share. I mean, that's good. That's over the average, over that threshold that I like talking about. So, I think there's a lot to like about him. So why don't you tell me why Charbonnet sucks?
Because he's a senior. Because he didn't come out last year. I just don't get it. I truly, that's all. That's all. I just don't get it. Like, he was so good in 2021. The years get mixed up.
Yeah.
Why didn't he go?
Yeah. Yeah, I get that too, man. I don't know. Chasing a title, like, I don't know. Was UCLA
No.
I mean, they're a playoff team, but come on.
Yeah. I really want to run it back with Dory and Thompson Robinson.
Jake Bobo is my wide receiver one. Fuck. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, some of these guys want to get a degree. I haven't heard that. You'd think that would be a story, right? Because that's a very positive story by his agent. But, that was what ETN said. I think ETN just wanted to get his degree, which, like, you got to respect that. But I'm just pontificating here. I got no idea what he was thinking either. Maybe my assumption was that he got a return to school grade last year, which means the committee thinks you're not a third-round draft pick. They give you an RTS grade. And I could have seen him getting a round 4, round 5 grade last year. I mean, it wasn't a strong class, but that's kind of where I had him. I'd assumed, 1 year of production, hadn't knocked my socks off with film. I assumed he was going to be in that Dameon Pierce kind of range. Maybe he thought he could do better.
No, that's where I had him too. And for what it's worth, I do think he did better. Like, I mean, statistically, he was better in 2022. So I don't necessarily hate it. I mean, maybe it was the right move. Maybe it's all going to work out for him. But I just hesitate to put him in the elite tier.
Yeah,
I don't think he's a bad back for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I always throw Montgomery around as like the boring but successful NFL draft pick, and I think that might be, if Charbonnet isn't as fast as I would like him to be, that might be his prototype, right? Like adequate pass catcher, pretty strong tackle breaker, up the gut, a little bit of explosive ability, David Montgomery, which, like, if you're taking that at
the RB1 in his class for a lot of people.
In this class? Or Montgomery was?
Yeah, Montgomery was.
Yeah, it was a bad class, man. He was a 3rd-round draft pick.
It's him, Jacobs, and Sanders.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you have 3 starters in the NFL, right? But Sanders certainly has had a rough go of it in the NFL.
Yeah. It was quite the lovely debate of mediocrity going on about who was the RB1.
Yeah. And then, fuck, man, Jacobs has had a tough run of it until this year. It's the first year he was really, the freshman year, his rookie year, and then this year. I think he was the guy that we wanted him to be. Right.
True.
But anyways, I think that's the axis we're talking about, right? Like the Josh Jacobs to David Montgomery axis. I think if like he really trips and stumbles, it's like Isaiah Spiller. Like that's the that's the range we're talking about.
It's a big range.
It's a big range, but fairly physical backs. If he's really burner, I think I could see him, doing better than that. But I like on his film. I think he can make some guys miss in the open field. He's got the truck stick. He's the only guy in this class that has like legit NFL power. Like, hey, get out of my way, or I'm gonna hurt you. No one else in this class has that. At least not someone who
Not that's
also
good.
has.
Not that's good. Sure.
Not that's good, right? Exactly. And man, some NFL teams are going to value that. Like at least like, a guy that like they see maybe has a 3-down role. Maybe he's not an elite pass catching weapon, but you can give it to him at the goal line 3 times, and he's going to break heads and score a touchdown. Like that's there's a lot of power backs, but a guy that can do that and also give you some some work. In the open field, can get a little bit creative, can add some yardage, isn't a liability in the passing game. I mean, when he gets the ball in the open field in the receiving game, like he does some damage, man. Like you'll see him shake some people with that truck. You don't want to be a DB one-on-one with him on the outside,
Oh
even
yeah.
an NFL safety. Like you're losing that. You know what I mean? That's not something you're going to enjoy. You're going to remember it for a couple of days. So I don't know. I think I can see. I was pleased to see that he got a good or average starter grade on NFL.com, because I know other like film bros like Abercrombie doesn't like him. Sofa Scouts. He keeps telling me, don't try to get people to think Charbonnet is something he isn't. I'm like, I don't know. I think he can play football pretty well.
Yeah. I don't think he's an accelerator. He's not bursty. It's
No.
kind of an issue.
Yeah, I'll buy that. Like, I don't remember him really working on outside runs at all. Like, not an outside zone runner. I feel like he ran some zone, but mostly gap. Um, and they're scheming him open in the receiving game, right? Like when he got the ball in the receiving game,
Yeah.
usually it was a design play, it was a screen, it was a wheel route with some trickery
But
going on.
but like once he gets out there and he's in space, he's really hard to deal with. So like I get it.
And he can block well. He's a good
Sure.
blocker.
Yeah.
The only guys in this class that it stood out to me on the film, like you see him stand up D's, right? Like not a lot of running backs have the power or the the blocking chops to do that and not humiliate themselves. So
Don't sell yourself on it too much though.
what do you say?
So don't sell yourself on it too much though. We're gonna end up with Kyron all over again. Kyron Williams is going to get on the field on 3rd down because he knows how to block.
Dude, that wasn't me, man.
I fell for it.
I was like, I don't know. I thought he'd be a good running back. His film from Notre Dame was fun.
Yeah.
But I thought he'd at least get like a satellite role. But Mike this year, right? They can't afford to bring anyone in, so someone's gonna have to run the ball behind Akers, right?
Yeah.
So
True.
All right. I think we put in some work. You got anything else on Sharbs or a wrap up on these 5 running backs we just talked about?
No, I mean, here's what I'll say, and this is just my opinion. I don't think there should have been a 5th. I mean, I think the top 4 guys are a tier above 5. And then I struggle really with who's 5 is kind of the thing. Because like Charbonnet has a case. I mean, Bonacona has a case. A-Chain has a case.
Yep.
Bigsby has a case.
Yeah. Does he?
Yeah.
The case that we thought he was that guy 2 years ago.
The case that, somehow they still ain't. I don't know. I was going to say something about Jarquez Hunter, but I just don't know how to bring him into this conversation.
I don't know. The film bros like tanks. Some of them do. So, it's 6.2 on NFL.com. That's a good grade. But, Yeah, I think you're right. And honestly, a lot of people, that if we had this conversation of 10 people that do what we do, I bet you 5 of them would say Tucker doesn't belong there either. People have soured on
Yeah,
him substantially.
yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. He checks a ton of boxes for me.
Yeah. I think just the big knock is people say he can't break tackles, but I'm like, you'll see him shake some guys for sure. Like I said, that Clemson game from 2021, he doesn't beat any of those guys. He gets tackled by the first tackler every time. I can kind of write it off a little bit because it's Clemson. They have
Clemson.
really good linebackers. They have really good safeties. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys are future pros. They're not missing tackles. Plus he's the only guy on that last year, definitely the only guy on that field you had to worry about in 2021. So, yeah, I mean, you should be able to stop him if you're like massively outpowering the other team in the trenches, massively outskilling them in the back end. So I tried to like write that off. I watched that game first, and I was like, "Oh, fuck this guy," but then I watched a few other ones, and I definitely get the hype. But yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I think there's a lot of NFL starters. There's a lot of NFL players. Really, only a couple of guys that I'm really excited about. So
Yeah, I think there's a good handful of, run of the mill guys who could start 12 games, right?
yeah.
And then there's like 3 or 4 guys who are just like, this guy could be a weapon, but is he a running back?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
A-Chain, like Gibbs, even to some extent. Keaton
Well,
Mitchell.
A-Chain is more of a running back than Gibbs. A-Chain's a good runner. He's just little.
Yeah.
He's just tiny, So I mean, for me, it's like he's like jetpack Devin Singletary, right? Doesn't have the shake, but just
That's
that
probably
like,
a good thing, isn't it?
yeah. He doesn't have the wiggle that Singletary does, though. Singletary's got like, if Singletary was fast at all, he'd be like a top 20 back in the league. He's just slow because he's got like an agility like a LaShawn McCoy or like that kind of like elite make you miss ability. He just also is like little. Doesn't catch passes that great, So about as explosive as a pound of lead. All right. Any parting shots for me tonight, my friend?
Your favorite player is going to suck at the combine.
Probably.
Don't care who it is. You're going to be disappointed. That is my parting gift of wisdom. Just prepare to be disappointed.
The first thought that came in my head was Jalen Hyatt, like rupturing an Achilles or something.
Oh,
right?
God. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, I love him too. I do a profile for Rookie Fever every year. I just, Bonaro, the Bud, and they always have me on. I'm doing Hyatt this year, so I guess I'm a Hyatt guy. I've kind of been a Hyatt guy. I paid like $1 million for Hyatt because I thought I was going to win me a chip. Did not. I was mad. Big mad about that ex post facto. Fuck. I give you like Key. Well, Sky Moore sucks though. I gave you Key and Sky Moore, right?
Was that me?
Yeah.
Shoot.
Part of my strategy was the fact that you were like one spot behind me in the college like playoff run too. So like, oh, get a good player off of him, put him on my squad. And then I still lost in the championship to somebody. Or maybe even like, I think I might even had a third place finish. Like things didn't go my way. But Hyatt wasn't good the last couple of games. They shut him down. Are you looking for the trade?
I am. I don't remember what league that. What
it was? It was definitely. We were only in like 3 or 4, right? So it was definitely Dane Key and Sky Moore. Those were the key pieces. And at that
was
point,
not me. That was not me. I did not trade for Dane Key this year.
Oh, maybe it was Joe. It was Joe Pellegrino. Yeah, I did buy Hyatt off you in a league though, didn't I? Or maybe not.
I don't think so.
Maybe not. I bought him off like everybody because I thought I was
probably tried to.
Probably tried to and got shut down. Okay.
All right. No thanks. He goes to Tennessee.
It's my baby, my precious, my precious.
Yeah, especially if you ask me after the Alabama game, there's just no chance.
Yeah. You were like legit high off that game for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just glowing. You'd be like, anytime you came on.
That's me with T. Higgins as well. Like somebody could offer me like Jamar Chase for T. Higgins, and I'd be like, I'm good. I like T. Higgins.
Do you think he gets traded?
T. Higgins and I went to the same high school, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. He's not that much older than you either, right? You guys were in school at the same time?
I blocked for him in middle school, yes.
That's fun. Fuck, was he already like 6'2" in middle school?
Yep. He played quarterback. He'd run to one side of the field, and then he'd change his mind and run to the other side, and then run to the other side, and then there'd be nobody there, and then he'd go.
He's just like vastly ahead of every other player.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's fun, man. That's a good story. It's funny you blocking for him. I mean, I haven't met you in person, but you don't see him like a nose tackle or anything.
I was big for a middle schooler, for 7th grader. Yeah. I went to a camp though. in 7th grade, like one of those all-star camps.
Nice.
I was not that guy. I was not that guy.
Found that out real quick.
Yeah. I think Cade Mays was there. He ended up being a 5-star prospect out of high school. So, yeah.
Oh, it's funny. You got some good stories, though, at least out of it. That was fun. Okay, let's hang it up. Let's hang up the cleats for the night. Thank you for coming on. It was a great show. If you guys don't follow Kyle and you made it to the end of this, follow Kyle at KL Fantasy. He might
see absolutely nothing.
Might have a draft guy.
Don't say anything. No.
Might not. Well, you can do some profiles for us if you want.
I haven't made a piece of content other than this show in months.
I hear you, dude.
I barely update my rankings anymore. I got like halfway through updating my Devy rankings and I got burned out again.
Dude, I didn't write a piece last year at all. It was the first year in like 6 years that I haven't like published fantasy football articles. I was just weary, And that's kind of why I started the show too, though, because this like gives us something to do that's like kind of low impact but productive, and gets it out there in the world. So, all right, we're gonna hang it up. I am your host, Erik at EK Baller. Please hit subscribe. Please hit like. If you want to do more film scouting yourself, I will post a link to my promo code for Dynasty Nerds. Get in there in the film room, save 15% off, do your own scouting. Don't be a chump. Win at fantasy football. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Draft of good players.